Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, April the 4th, 2019, and I am Monica Hill of Connfoodfighter. I am here with Mr. A.G. Ag in the City, and he is going to tell us a little bit about gardening and gardening tips today. So welcome to this video, and I hope that you will be inspired to start a garden this year. If you have any gardening needs, he is the man to talk to. So Mr. A.G., tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, first, my name is Stephen Lewis. I run the Ag in the City program for Louisville, which is an urban ag education program where we focus on teaching people about community garden, proper gardening techniques, hydroponics, and just ways that they could grow their own food and use gardening as a source of supplemental income.
Great. All right. So this is April the 4th, as I said. Is this the best time to go ahead and begin a garden?
Yes, this is a good time. So the soil is warm enough where you can start digging. We are in the springtime. So yes, you can go ahead and begin your spring garden.
Okay.
Growing your greens and things like that.
Okay. Now, I myself am Monica Hill of Connfoodfighter, and I am attempting to grow a garden this year. Now, when I was younger, my dad used to do a garden in our backyard, but I would like to do raised beds. Can you tell us the advantage of using raised beds for gardening?
Well, yeah, as you can see, we're in a parking lot where there's no grass or anything, but we have been growing food in these raised beds. So one of the advantages of a raised bed is if you don't have grass to grow on, you could always build up your bed and grow in a raised bed garden box.
Okay. And by the way, we are at the Shawnee Art Center, okay, in the West End. So great things going on here. So now I do have a backyard. I just don't want to have to dig the ground up. And how would I begin to create? Do they sell the beds unassembled and you just buy the lumber? Are they already can you get them pre-assembled, or how does that work?
You could get them. I guess you could get them pre-assembled depending on the size. So if it's like a small bed, something like a 2x3 or something like that, they can fit in your car, you could definitely do that. But what we did, me and a group of guys from the community, we built these beds about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
We just bought the wood at Lowe's.
Now, how deep this bed right here, what can be grown in here? Does the depth of the bed determine what you can grow in it and what you can't? For instance, what can be grown in this one? Can anything be grown in this one?
Yeah, you can grow tomatoes, peppers, whatever.
If I wanted to grow a watermelon, could I grow watermelon? Okay.
Yep.
So does it have to be a certain depth?
It only needs to be 18. If you're doing a raised bed, it needs to be at least 18 inches high because you want the soil. So say you're growing over grass, right, and the soil may be contaminated. The regulations say they want you to make your bed at least 18 inches high so that the roots won't necessarily go down and start tapping into the soil that may be contaminated, let's say. Or let's say you're growing over a parking lot and you're growing stuff that has a deep root, like maybe carrots or tomatoes that grow real tall. They probably have deeper roots. So you want at least to give it at least 10 to 18 inches.
Okay.
Just to give the roots some
will
space.
They be, you said they have deep roots, so does that mean, you said 18 inches will be convenient for a carrot, something that has deep roots?
Yeah. I mean, carrots are only going to be about 4 to 6 inches long anyway.
Okay.
But so most plants, the roots only grow within the top 6 inches of soil.
Okay.
Yeah. So
now for this raised bed or any raised bed, you have the wood. It consists of wood, and then what do you put inside at the bottom of the bed? Does it have to be some type of plastic or lining or anything?
It depends. This one has, I guess whoever made this put a plywood at the bottom. But these beds, we didn't put anything at the bottom.
Okay.
We just lined it with some landscape fabric. You can kind of see sticking out right here.
Okay.
And that just, keeps everything in, just in case there may be, let's say you're growing over top of grass, you don't want weeds to grow up through the bottom. So you put some landscape fabric down just to keep weeds from growing through and things like that.
Okay. Now, when I would like to do an herb garden, and then I would like to do things like tomatoes and greens and cucumbers and things like that. So as far as herbs or any of the other vegetables, do I need to start them inside or in these little containers like this?
You don't have to necessarily, but you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just go over the basics for a new gardener or someone who doesn't know just how to start a garden. We know we can either dig in the ground, and if you don't have soil or you're using something like a parking lot, you can use raised beds. Either way, and so you would start out with your raised bed.
So I'll go through the process.
Okay.
The first thing you want to do is pick a location that gets at least 8 hours of sunlight.
Okay.
So, you know, this one is pretty good. So in the wintertime, or when it's the trees haven't fully bloomed, you want to take in consideration that. So it's a lot of sun right now, but when that tree is, you know, when the leaves come out, it's going to be a little shady.
Okay.
So just take that in consideration. You know, first is your location and the hours of sunlight. Then you want to make sure that the spot you have is, you know, has good drainage. So if you're growing in ground, you want to make sure it's not at a low level where all the water is going to drain to. You want to be somewhere kind of higher up so, you know, water can drain from, you know, the location. So you want good drainage. Next thing, you want to get your soil mixture. So, you know, use a combination of, for raised bed, you can use a combination of potting soil. What we did, there's a place called Earth First. They sell a garden mix where you get like a tractor scoop.
Okay.
Which is like a cubic yard for like $40. So that's what we did. So whatever, you know, you want to use for your soil, you know, get a good garden soil mix. Get compost to add into it. You know, whether that's horse manure or worm castings or just regular compost from your, you know, that you from your food scraps you may be decomposing. So, you know, you want to get your good soil mix, fill up your bed. You want something that's, you know, nice and fluffy, that has good drainage.
Okay.
That's not too heavy and things like that. And then the next step, you know, you get your plants. So you can either start from seeds. If you're doing stuff like carrots, you start those from seeds. You can't start those indoors.
Okay.
But some of your leafy greens, you can start those from seeds as well. Or if you want to start indoors, you would start indoors like around February, March. So about this time, you can put them out.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, you know, you want to plant your plants based on what you want to grow, based on the time of year. So right now, it's still kind of cold at night. This is the time you really grow your spring crops. Okay. Which is your leafy greens, carrots, radish, things like that. Stuff that that matures within 60 days. Okay. And they're also cold tolerant because there still are going to be some cold nights and things like that. Okay. So, and that's usually up until Derby, like the week after Derby, I think is the last frost. Once you clear that last frost date, you can start planting your summer crops, which is your tomatoes, your peppers, your squash, and things like that.
Okay, I love watermelon. When would be the time to plant watermelon?
That's about mid-May. Okay. Yeah, to June.
Okay, now someone who wants to do compost, you said that compost is basically your scraps of food. Right. How would you start a compost container?
Well, I can take it over here. We actually have one. So, yeah, we got this compost being donated. Okay. So this is a compost bin.
Wow, okay.
Pretty much.
A plastic container.
Yeah, plastic container. And you can buy these. They're like $110 at Walmart. Okay. Don't judge this container because I don't know who. Look like there's some plastic scraps that blew in from the yard. So you don't want that. But to start your compost, so what I do at home, you take your food scraps, all your fruit and vegetable scraps, no meat, no dairy, no cheese. Okay. You put them in here.
And then you put leaves in there?
And then you will put, so your food scraps are called your green, things that are green. So your compost is a mixture of green and brown. Okay. So you put your food scraps or your grass cuttings, your leaf trimmings, whatever that's green, anything that's green, or your vegetable scraps, you put that in there, and then you put an equal amount or a little bit more of brown, and the brown would be either dead leaves, wood chips, shredded paper, stuff like that, and you put that in there, and that helps the microorganisms that are inside to break down the food scraps. So, yep.
And how long does it take to be ready to add into your soil?
About 6 months.
Okay.
Yes.